All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is episode 48 of the Yellow Card Podcast, presented to you by Couch Guy Sports, brought to you by Exo Gun. With me, as always, Chris Jones, Andrew Fasciano, your host, Diego Galvis. And today, guys, it's Champions League is almost here. Champions League is almost here. Football is back. Nature's healing. Fans are back. Things are looking good. As you guys know, last week we did a little bit of predictions coming up for this week on the Premier League. So we won't be giving you score predictions, given that as we're recording. I mean, Liverpool already played. We're recording on Saturday at about 9:15 Eastern Standard Time here in Boston. But we thought we would get into a little bit of draw predictions for the Champions League, considering that it's taking place on Thursday, and so therefore. I'm gonna turn it over to Chris because this was his segment idea. So, Chris, why don't you give us the list of the teams that will all be on the Champions League coming up this year, and let's get to some draw predictions.
So in pot one, we have the Champions League, the Europa League title holders, and the top 6 champions by association rank. So we have Chelsea, Villarreal, Atletico, Man City, Bayern Munich, Inter Milan, Lille, and then Sporting CP. In part 2, we have Real Madrid, Barcelona, Juventus, Man United, Paris Saint-Germain, Liverpool, Sevilla, Borussia Dortmund. In part 3 right now, we have Porto, Ajax, RB Leipzig, Atalanta, and Zenit St. Petersburg. Part 4, we have Club Brugge. I believe AC Milan's also in that pot, and I think Wolfsburg as well. So those 3 are, and then still waiting to see about Dynamo Kiev and Besiktas, where they go. And Besiktas would be an interesting one because I believe that's where Mesut Ozil went, correct?
I believe so. Yes.
Yeah.
Sure. Right, Andrew?
It could be. I'm pretty sure he went to the Turkish league.
It's either Besiktas or Galatasaray.
Mesut. Let's get clarification. He went to Fenerbahce.
Oh, Fenerbahce. Okay.
Which I believe they're also in contention. Well, I might be wrong. Yeah, I think I'm wrong. So basically what happens is there's still a couple games that are left to solidify what the pots will look like. So some of the games that are left, we have Shakhtar Donetsk and AS Monaco, Red Bull Salzburg and Brøndby. We have Benfica and PSV, Dynamo Zagreb and Sheriff Tiraspol, Young Boys and Ferencváros, and Ludogorets, Razgrad, and Malmo FF. So those are just some teams. So let's just dive in. So obviously you can't see the same country in the same
Malmo's interesting, by the way, because Malmo, for those of you that might remember, is actually the team where Ole Gunnar Solskjaer came from to Manchester United as a caretaker, ended up becoming the head coach of Manchester United.
Yeah. Well, they're currently up 2-0 in their aggregate against Ludogorets. RB Salzburg is up 2-1 in their aggregate. Young Boys is up 3-2. Sheriff Tiraspol is up 3-0 in their aggregate. Shakhtar Donetsk is up 1-0 in their aggregate, and Benfica is up 2-1 in their aggregate right now. And all those take place within the next few days. So by the time that the draw happens, we should know all the teams that are in the pot for Champions League. But for right now, obviously, we can't see teams like Chelsea, Man City, United, Liverpool all in one. We can't see Madrid, Barcelona, Sevilla, Atletico, Villarreal. We can't see all them in the same group. So what are some thoughts and what are some scenarios that you would love to see a team be in? So first off, why don't we do this? Why don't we do what we think the group of death is going to be for this season?
Okay.
In the Champions League. Let's predict it. I'll start with Mr. Fasciano, who's not in his usual scenery. I don't think we noted that.
Yeah, this is true. Well, straight off the bat, what jumps out to me is the fact that PSG is in pot 2. So I think whatever group has their pot 2 team as PSG is going to be a pretty strong contender for the group of death, considering I think most people would view them as for sure a top 3 contender to win the Champions League, and probably a lot of people's favorites as well, given all the additions they made this summer. So maybe if you potentially if you get a team from pot 1 like Chelsea or Bayern along with PSG as the pot 2 team, and then maybe like a Porto or Ajax from pot 3, and then if you even throw in AC Milan from pot 4, because I believe they're a pot 4 team.
Yep.
That would be a scary group right there. There's a couple other different options as well. There's some really good teams in pots 3 and 4 this year, potentially. So some of the teams in pots 1 and 2 are definitely going to want to avoid teams in pots 3 and 4, like Porto, Leipzig, Ajax, Atalanta, Milan, I already mentioned. I think the potential for a group of death is pretty high considering the talent that's in the third and fourth pots this year.
So what are your thoughts on what we could see? Like what would your ideal group of death be for the Champions League? Because last year everybody remembers it was
It's the group that United was on, wasn't it?
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
That's what I thought. Right. I was having like a mind fuck.
It was like PSG.
I was thinking,
United.
you know what I was thinking of? I was thinking of the Euros. That popped in my head. I got all fucked up for a second. But it was United, PSG, RB Leipzig, and then they played Basa Shakir or something weird like that, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna say my ideal 4 based on the pots would be something like Chelsea, PSG, Porto, and Milan in a group together.
That'd be wild.
Yeah.
All right, Diego.
All right. So for me, I have 2 case scenarios that I could see as potential group of death. One of them involves PSG, Atletico, Atalanta, and Wolfsburg as your group of death. The other one involves Real Madrid, Porto, Manchester City, and AC Milan as your group of death.
So which one you want to ride with? You want to ride with the City one, or you want to ride with the PSG one?
I think I'm gonna ride with the PSG one because it's more than likely to happen.
So you said it was PSG,
Atletico,
yep,
Atalanta,
and then Wolfsburg.
and then Wolfsburg. Yep.
Okay. I think we're gonna get something weird this year, and I think what we're gonna get is teams like Chelsea and PSG are not gonna be in the group of death. I think the group of death this year, I think it's gonna be City. I think City's gonna be the one from pot 1. I think it'll be City. I think it'll be Real Madrid. Then
I should have stuck with my other one then.
so I think it's City, Real Madrid. Then I'm gonna go Ajax, because I think Ajax is tough no matter where they play. And then obviously I'm gonna say AC Milan as well in that one. So
The only difference we had was you went with
Ajax
Ajax
and Porto,
rather than
yeah.
Porto.
I mean, based off of what they've done in the past couple seasons, I don't think United gets thrown in that group this year. I don't think PSG gets thrown in that group this year. I don't think Chelsea gets thrown in that group this year. But I do think that Chelsea and teams like Chelsea and Bayern Munich are going to get a tougher draw this year. So I think Chelsea's going to end up. It's going to end up being like Chelsea, Juventus, Porto, and then like Club Brugge. And then for Bayern, I think they're going to end up with Sevilla, which would be a tough matchup for them. I think they end up with Atalanta, and then I think they end up with Dynamo Kiev, which I believe will end up in Group 4. So I think those are some weird scenarios that we can see. I see like Liverpool getting like Inter Milan, Leipzig, and then like Shakhtar Donetsk. So
Yeah.
let's do ideal finals, UCL finals. Let's predict them now.
Oh,
Finals that you want to see versus finals that you think we'll see. I'll start with Diego on this one.
I think a final that I would love to see is a rematch between Chelsea and Manchester City. I think both teams have made it a focus this year that their teams are rebuilt with the purpose of wanting to win the Champions League again. Manchester City with a chip on their shoulder after, breaking or busting last season. I think another final that I would like to see, personally, I'd say Manchester United, Atletico Madrid. Manchester United, the only reason I'm picking them is because of Chris Jones's believes that Manchester United will win this year's Champions League. I personally don't think we will get there, but if we do, I mean, God bless that man. But I think another final that we could also see potentially is I think the final that realistically we see is Paris Saint-Germain versus Manchester City.
Okay. I'll go. I am excited. I think what I want to see is I want to see PSG versus Bayern again. I think at some point we might see it in the elimination round rather than the final, but I wouldn't hate that for a final. I also wouldn't hate seeing United versus City in the final. I think would be a very good one. Would draw a lot of ratings. But I think the one we end up getting is I think we're gonna get Man United. And we are going to get Man United, and it's going to be Man United versus
Who?
PSG.
All right. Yeah. I think on paper, at least, I have a hard time not seeing PSG get to the final, given all the additions they made. Man City and PSG, like Diego said, I feel like on paper would be quite a Clash of the Titans matchup to see. I think storyline-wise, it would also be very interesting to see PSG get either Barcelona or Real Madrid at some point, given Messi and Sergio Ramos, those two additions that they made. I would love to see like a Dortmund type team make a deep run, and I don't know if it's possible for them to get to the final, but that would be very compelling to me. Someone who's maybe a good team, but not quite in the top 5 contenders at the start of the tournament. But if I had to pick what I think is most likely to happen, I would very much enjoy seeing Atletico Madrid make a deep run. I enjoy watching them play. I feel like they've had a good couple of years. So won the league last year. Maybe they can translate success into the Champions League this year. But on paper, I feel like I personally would say the two best teams are Man City and PSG right now. So you never know with how draws work out and things like that. But if they avoid each other until the final, that could be a big matchup right there. And then I have one other thought real quick. This team from Moldova, Sheriff, you said they were up 3-0 in their qualifying game, I think. I can't remember ever hearing about a Moldovan team in the group stage of the Champions League. I don't know if that's ever happened before, but that would be pretty cool to see them make it through and get there.
They're playing Dynamo Zagreb and they're up 3-0 in their second leg to 25th.
The Sheriffs will be back in town, baby.
Yeah, they might. I'll be rooting for them in their second playoff match for sure.
All right. So now that we have some UCL draw predictions and whatnot, we have some final predictions as well. It's time to transition over to the Premier League because we also have some news over there with the return of two essential pieces to their respective clubs. Believe it or not, actually, their clubs are meeting each other this weekend, and it is Chelsea and Arsenal. So Martin Odegaard returns to Arsenal on a permanent deal, 35 million, after a loan spell with Arsenal. Obviously, the loan expired, so he had to return back to Real Madrid. But after the disastrous weekend that Arsenal showed against Brentford, I think the fans made their voices be heard, and I think Arteta felt a little bit of his ground shake a little bit. He was forced to make a deal for Martin Odegaard, 35 million pounds for the guy, with additions that could amount to about 40 million pounds for the young Norwegian talent. We also have the return of Romelu Lukaku to London. Last time Romelu was blue, Romelu was, I think, 18, 19 years old.
He wasn't that husky.
He wasn't that husky. He had long hair. And he was just young, just super young. Not that he's not young now, but I mean, he's bald. And what is he? 28, 29. Yeah, something along those lines. So it's been
the time frame.
So it's been a decade.
Yes, as well.
It's been a decade that he's come full circle back to Stamford Bridge. Him and Roman Abramovich, they actually seem to like one another, which is completely unheard of.
Rare.
Yeah, completely unheard of for any Chelsea player in Abramovich. But let's get some thoughts behind this. First, let me get Andrew's thoughts on Martin Odegaard. Then I'm gonna get Jones's thoughts on Lukaku, and then I'm gonna flip it and ask for Andrew's thoughts on Lukaku, and then Jones's thoughts on Odegaard. So
what? It's too early for this.
Yeah, we're gonna do a little roulette. So
too many tongue twisters.
So Andrew, why don't we? The fact that I didn't twist my tongue saying that was
impressive.
I'll give you the credit there. It's fine.
Yeah. So Andrew, why don't we get you started with Odegaard's thoughts here?
Yeah. I feel like collectively as a podcast, all three of us were pretty big fans of Odegaard joining Arsenal on loan last year, and now he's there to stay for good. I read somewhere that Madrid has the rights of first refusal, which my understanding is that if Arsenal were to turn around and get a bid from someone else for like 40 million, they would have to give Madrid the option of buying him back for 40 million first before they moved him on to a different club. So they do have that little option there. So potentially it's not the end for Odegaard at Real Madrid, but I think it helps Arsenal a lot. I think we saw during a lot of times last season, and again in the season opener for Arsenal against Brentford, that they were sort of struggling to create chances in the midfield and string things together in the final third. And I think Odegaard helps a lot with that. Really, really talented player. He ended up at Real Madrid when he was very young, and I think his best seasons in Spain probably came when he was out on loan and not at Madrid. So the fact that he maybe at Arsenal has a bit more of a chance to be the main guy rather than when he was at Madrid, where there were so many stars there that he got overshadowed a little bit. That could play into his hands, I think. If he has a season for Arsenal like he did, I think he was at Real Sociedad, it was a couple seasons ago on loan. If he puts together a season like that for Arsenal, they will be very, very happy with the addition, and he will certainly be worth the money because he was phenomenal for them that year. Creatively, goal scoring, he could do it all. So if he can bring that to the table for Arsenal, I think they're getting a really, really good player who fits exactly what they need offensively also.
All right, I like it. Jones, why don't we get you started with thoughts on Lukaku's return to Chelsea?
I'm excited for it. I think Chelsea to me is, I think, one of the more interesting stories this year, especially in the Premier League aspect, because of the fact of how good they became once they got rid of Frank Lampard last year, like which we said 1,000 times, and then Thomas Tuchel bringing into the fold, and he looked like he's found a home here. Like when he was at PSG, there were times where it just looked like it was just a job for him. When he was at Chelsea last year for his short tenure, he looked like he wanted to be there, and he was there to prove a point. And he proved that point by not only winning the Champions League, but now you're back in the Champions League again, and now you consider one of the heavy favorites to win the Premier League this year. So I think for me, I think Lukaku just adds to that. I think he creates a physical presence up front that at the moment is missed. Like when they had Olivier Giroud, the way that Giroud could just use his body to get better positioning. I think Timo Werner really can't do that. He doesn't have the size for it. But I'm curious to see what their formation looks like, because I know Pulisic is out because he has COVID. Lacazette's out with an illness still, and I'm pretty sure Aubameyang's 50-50. So I'm curious to see how Chelsea's going to line up against this Arsenal team, because it looks like we're going to get a similar Arsenal team like we did against Brentford. And if that's the case, I think Chelsea's going to wipe the floor, which isn't saying much because they lost 2-0 to Brentford. But I'm just a weird feeling that if they line up like they did with the same starting 11, they don't have Bukayo Saka in there. I think that the following week they play City. That's when they get Odegaard back and hopefully Lacazette and Aubameyang. But you're already going to be too deep in a hole to start off the season.
All right. Andrew, your thoughts on Romelu Lukaku coming back to Chelsea? I know you're a big Lukaku fan, so let's get you going.
Yeah, I do like Romelu a lot. I think he can put the ball in the net like very few players that I've seen in my time watching the Premier League. When he was with Everton, there were times where, actually, I think back particularly to a game against Chelsea in the FA Cup where Everton won the match 2-0. I'm pretty sure Lukaku scored both goals, and both goals he just sort of picked up the ball and said, you know what, I'm going to score a goal, and just took on the defense, went by them and scored. He could make it look really, really easy at times. And when he was on top of his game, he was just about unstoppable with Everton. I know that was a couple years ago now, and he is a little bit of a different player now, but I think he will get a lot of goals for Chelsea this season. I think for as good as Chelsea were last year, the one sort of knock that I heard when talking to Chelsea fans was that they generated so many chances that they didn't put away, and they were still able to win games just because they were so dominant and so good defensively. But I think bringing in someone like Lukaku, who will put away those chances more often than not, really brings how dangerous they are to a whole new level. So I think it really does propel them right up to being a favorite for the title this season. Like I said, with Odegaard and Arsenal, I feel like it's kind of the perfect style of player for what they need. He's going to get you goals. He's going to be a physical presence up there, like you said, Chris. And I think it's a really good fit. And I hope that he does very well because I like him a lot as a player. I have a sinking feeling that he's going to score against Everton when he plays us, because that would just seem to make sense. But other than when he's playing Everton, I hope he does really well this season.
You gotta love it. No, I agree with much of what you guys have said. I think the Lukaku return to Chelsea. I mean, that makes absolute sense, as Andrew pointed out. This is a Chelsea team that they had everything put together. The unfortunate part that they couldn't get together was the finishing up front. Werner's still a little bit shaky to do so. The only person that could really do that for this club was either Tammy Abraham or Oliver Giroud, both players who have been dealt aside this year. Tammy Abraham going to Roma and Oliver Giroud going to AC Milan. So I think if anything, this was more of a necessary move by Tuchel than anything else. It is an exciting move for sure. I mean, when you look up and down this lineup, it's just nothing but youth. And when you have somebody who's as youthful and experienced as Romelu Lukaku, it just adds that extra oomph into your lineup. So this is an exciting time to be a Chelsea fan. I think for the Odegaard piece, I'm super excited for him to be back to Arsenal. He made it clear last year that he wanted to stay with Arsenal before his loan expired. Unfortunately, Arsenal wasn't in the state to be able to make a move immediately, and therefore why they had to wait until the loan expired, think it through, see what Real Madrid wanted, and then proceed going forward. However, just in his short time that he came to Arsenal, the guy really made it easy. The guy made his job a lot easier for a lot of these guys. Not only was he a creative piece for Aubameyang and Lacazette up front, but he created a lot. I mean, in the Europa League when he was there, the guy played 6 matches, scored 1 goal, no yellow cards, no red cards. So this isn't a guy that's just a hothead trying to cause you problems in the lineup. This is somebody who's reliable and useful. In the Premier League, 14 matches, 1 goal, 2 assists. Same thing, no yellow cards, no red cards. Another guy who's just looking to be productive and just put the ball in the back of the net. Him and Bukayo Saka were really good together when they played. So I think if anything, while they might be a little deep in the hole right now after having lost to Brentford and potentially losing to Chelsea, potentially losing to City, I think they can turn it around. 3 games back out of 38 that I believe are in the season. You still got a lot of season to go for. Just not where you want to be, especially after losing 3 games in a row. But I mean, once you get your pieces back together and your team is healthy, this is an Arsenal team that, if coached correctly, will be able to succeed. And that is key, if coached correctly, because Arteta has already proven that he is shaky at making decisions. I mean, let's be honest. Who here thought that Bukayo Saka would start on the bench against Brentford?
With all the people that they had out, not me.
Not only that, but with how good he was in the Euro 2020. I mean, it's impossible to think that you have Saka's 19, 20 years old?
20 max.
Okay, so it's impossible for me to think that you have a 19 or 20-year-old in such great shape, such great talent in the bench against a team that it's nothing but youthful and full of speed and full of energy. I don't know. It made no sense to me. You brought him in at a horrible time during the game because Arsenal had no control at all of the game, had no pace. So Bukayo is trying to build you some pace and control. Yeah, I don't know. I still remain with the thoughts that Arteta could be the first coach to be sacked this year, the Premier League. I think he proved it to me last week. The only thing that I will say in his favor is the record kind of does help him a little bit when it comes to Chelsea. He was able to get the number twice last year. Maybe he'll be able to figure it out this year. Maybe a tie, maybe a victory, a surprising victory here. But he needs to figure out in ASAP. But you know what's a team that's figured it out though thus far? That is the New England Revolution.
I was waiting to see where you were going with that.
The boys, the winnings just don't stop. The winnings just don't stop, and we don't want them to stop. Revolution are just darn good. I don't know about y'all, but like, I know Yellow Card Podcast personally had a plan to go see a Revs game together, but unfortunately I ruined it because I had commitments that I had forgotten about. But I don't know of a time where we've seen so many New England fans come together for this club and be this excited for this club. Like, yeah, Revolution has had fans all of its time, but the fan base was always kind of slid under the rug. It felt to me like, I don't know why, but it always felt that way. What do you guys think? Like, this is, for me, this is just exciting. I've always been a Revs fan. But what about you guys?
I'll go because I know Andrew's a little bit more of a diehard than me. This team is just, when they started last season, you saw the potential there. Just went on the little run, made some key moves in the offseason. You know, you got guys like Adam Buska that's stepped up his role. He did it last year. He's doing it again this year. We got Carlos Guy. We got Gustavo Bo. Matt Turner looks like the best goal in the MLS. But there's a plethora of things that are happening for the Revolution right now, and it's working in their favor. And it's all coming together right now. But my only worry, again, it's still only August. I would hate for them to collapse when the playoffs come around. But all high hopes for now. Best team in the Boston area at the moment to watch. The Red Sox are kind of meh. I'd rather watch the Revolution. I'll sit down and actually watch a Revolution game rather than the Red Sox game nowadays.
Yeah, it's very exciting. It's very exciting. I feel like we sort of first saw this hype with the playoff run last year, where they had sort of an up and down regular season, lots of injuries with Carlos Gil being out for a lot of the regular season, but then they sort of put it all together at the right time for the playoffs. And I think a lot of people took notice of the team and what they could do. That was a lot of fun, that playoff run where they made it to the Eastern Conference final. And I think they've just sort of built on that this season. They made some nice additions in the offseason. Some of their younger players like Henry Kessler and Tejan Buchanan have taken that next step forward and become even more important parts of this team. And the big guns that you mentioned, Chris, like Buxa, Heel, and Gustavo Bo have been firing on all cylinders and working together really nicely. So it's been an incredible season thus far. I think I saw today that they have, I want to say 13 games left and 7 of them are at home. So a lot of chances left to pick up even more points in the race for the Supporters' Shield, which they have never won despite being one of the original MLS teams. So it would be a big deal to get that done over the line, knock on wood, because I don't jinx anything and there's still a long way to go. But it would be very exciting if they were able to accomplish something like that this season, because I think they really deserve it. It's been a very good team. They've made really good additions at the right time. I feel like bringing in Bruce Arena when they did, starting to spend that designated player money a little bit more and bringing in big high profile guys like Heel and Bo. So yeah, I mean, I'm just excited to see where the run goes from here, because it's been a great season so far, and I hope that we get another deep playoff run to cap it off for sure.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean, just looking back at the win last week against DC United, that DC United team, it showed that they are, without a doubt, just the most fightful club there really is in the MLS. They even cost they even cost Arner to get a red card, and even with a red card, this team managed to pull ahead and win 3-2. DC United by no means is a little club at all, because these guys have really good players in that team. Paul Arriola to be one of them, Ramon Avila to be another one. This is Flores is a really good player as well. By no means was this an easy win at all to the Revolution. Now they're coming up to face a Cincinnati team that, believe it or not, they have a lot to fight with in their team. So I'm excited. I'm very happy to see what Bruce Arena is doing with this club, with this organization overall. I think I've said it last week and I'll say it again. I think one of the biggest things that has really kind of helped more fans get behind this Revolution team is the fact that we're finally on a big network, being televised, having the games be televised and having them be narrated by actual people that know the game itself, rather than some Joe Schmo that doesn't even know what a soccer ball looks like. It's ideal that a lot of these fans are starting to be like, okay, like this is the team to follow. I mean, we've even seen some celebrities on Twitter just all of a sudden being like, okay, I want to understand soccer. I'm gonna go to a Revolution game. I want to understand it. Can you guys help me understand it? Because this is a team that's been contagious all throughout their season, and they'll continue to be that way. I know it's just August. I know there's a lot more football to be played, but if there's somebody that has put the mindset correctly in this team and that has motivated this team correctly and has managed this team correctly, it's Bruce Arena. So I don't expect anything from Bruce. The guy has a winning mentality, has been a winner for many years. And he has all the right personnel in that locker room. So, but anyways, like I said, Revolution are damn good. Get on the train. That's all I gotta say.
You've already been on the train.
get that golden ticket to first class, because this train is just going full speed ahead. Any final? There you go. Any final thoughts there, train pilot?
It's a conductor.
Pilot as well. Yeah, pilot as well.
No, that's not it.
We're gonna go so fast that we're just gonna fly.
No, I'm excited for the games this weekend. I'm excited for Diego and I tomorrow are watching it live and in person together for the first time ever. So this would be fun right off the bat. We're watching Southampton versus Manchester United and Tottenham and then we're streaming together live in person. We're streaming. Make sure you stay tuned. College Sky Sports Twitch. Arsenal versus Chelsea at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and whatever it is over the pond.
All right, Andrew, any final thoughts, sir?
Yeah. Do you guys see the kit that Ajax dropped this week? The Bob Marley one?
Fire!
Strong contender for best kit of the
Yes.
2021-22 season, I think. Very nice.
Fire.
Listen, we're talking about strong kits. We want to talk about bad kits. The third one that
everything
that
made by
dropped.
Puma. Oh
the
yeah,
one, the third one that Juventus dropped.
Yeah.
I didn't like the color scheme at all.
It was weird.
I just don't get it. Nike and Adidas used to be the ones with like the sweetest like kits, and now Puma all of a sudden it's like, nah, we're taking over.
They made those like cookie kits without even a club badge on it. It's gross. Looks like a training outfit more than something for a game.
I was also, speaking of Juventus, real quick, Manuel Locatelli, officially a member of Juventus as well, right before the Serie A season starts, which is actually today that we're recording. So stay tuned to Serie A as well.
All right. So with that said, ladies and gentlemen, that wraps it up for episode 48 of the Yellow Card Podcast. As Chris mentioned, make sure that you tune in tomorrow to the Twitch channel, where we will be streaming Chelsea and Arsenal. With that said, signing off, Diego Galvis, Chris Jones, Andrew Fasciano. until next week. See you, everybody.